When I became a softer woman and started leading with my feminine energy, I was able to attract everything that I desired. I made more money while working less, and life just became easier without the constant hustle, grind, and burnout. Hi lovelies, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm talking about masculine habits that I gave up to become more feminine. I used to be part of the hyper independent, I don't need anybody, hustle mentality, strong independent woman society, but I had to hand in my resignation because that is not my ministry. As a woman, leading with your masculine energy means you're working twice as hard to go through life, because masculinity is about doing, whereas femininity is about being. I realized that there's power in femininity and being softer. If you want to make your life easier, if you want to attract abundance, if you want to live a soft life, here are the masculine habits that you need to give up. The first masculine habit that I gave up to become more feminine was over resilience. I used to pride myself for pushing through. When I would fall down, I would get back up quickly, dust myself off, and keep going. But that was a trauma response from what I grew up seeing and what I grew up hearing, that you have to keep going, you have to keep pushing, you have to work hard in order for you to be successful. The Bible says, examine yourself to see whether you're in the faith. If you're constantly doing without reflection, you will find that you will never get anywhere. You'll start and then you'll stop. You move from one project to the other, leaving a trail of unfinished projects, because your focus is on, I just need to keep on going, I just need to keep on pushing, I just need to keep on putting in the work. But the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Over resilience is a masculine habit that focuses on doing, action, and doesn't leave room for reflection. You have to embrace failure as a part of your journey and understanding what caused you to fail, because failure leaves clues. And the ability to reflect means slowing down or even stopping completely. And that's where femininity comes in, where you're able to just be. You understand that things happen for you and not to you. So even when things go wrong, even when things don't go the way that you want them to, there is a reason why you are in that season. There is a lesson that you need to learn so you know how to move forward. It's a sign that that is not the path that you should be taking. Slowing down, stopping, reflecting, it doesn't make you weak. It doesn't mean that you don't have the strength to keep going. It just means that you understand that there is power in being still. So when you do start moving forward, you are taking aligned action that's actually going to get you to where you need to be. The next masculine habit that I gave up to be more feminine is to not focus on achievements. When I was younger, there was a lot more focus on what you wanted to do when you grew older. So whether you wanted to be a doctor, be a teacher, whether you wanted to be an engineer, a lawyer, that meant that job titles and what you had became a part of your identity. So when I would meet new people when I was older, I would lead with my achievements in the conversation. This is what I did for a living and these are the things that I have accomplished. But that just displays competitiveness, bragging, wanting to be the best, which is associated with masculine energy. But as women, it's not about what you have or what you do that determines your identity, but who you are, what qualities you have, what characteristics you have, what skills you have, who you are as a person. I remember one of my first therapy sessions and my therapist asked me who I was aside from what I did for a living, and I really struggled to answer that because my job was a part of my identity that I didn't know who I was outside of that. So I had to sit down and think about the woman that I wanted to become, my future self, my most feminine, abundant and successful self. She was a woman of God. She was soft, graceful, beautiful, kind, patient, generous, wise, magnetic, fulfilled, at peace, and she just walked in her servitude. And I started embodying those characteristics, those qualities and those traits now. When you focus on who you want to become instead of what you want to have, you you start resting in your feminine energy as a woman, where you attract instead of chasing, where you flow instead of forcing. Instead of thinking, what do I have to do for me to make money? You think, who do I need to become for me to attract money? Next masculine habit I gave up to become more feminine is hyper independence. I grew up as an only child, so I had no choice but to be self-reliant, to enjoy my own company and do things by myself. And I also grew up surrounded by strong independent women who did things on their own. That this developed into a belief of mine that you have to do everything on your own. No one is coming to save you. People always let you down. And I seem to find myself in situations or friendships or relationships where those beliefs would manifest, so it became a self-fulfilling prophecy. But being hyper independent meant that I was always bitter that I had to do things on my own, that I had to be the strong one. It made me have blind spots that I wouldn't even be aware that there were people or things that could make my life easier. It made me uncomfortable when people would offer help, and I would always assume that it was transactional and they wanted something in return. It made me not ask for help even when I was really struggling and I could do with the help and support. I realized that hyper independence is actually arrogance, to believe that you can do everything on your own. We were all born with unique gifts and blessings. You can't be good at everything. You're not good at everything. I had to work through the trauma that came with my hyper independence and practice the art of allowing. If somebody let me have the last bite of the food, I would let them. If somebody opened the door for me, I would let them. If somebody offered to pay for something, I would let them. And if I found that accepting help or even asking for help was making me feel uncomfortable, I would reflect on it to understand where that uncomfortable feeling was coming from. There is nothing more feminine than receiving, releasing control, surrendering. And if you find that this is something that you struggle with, you need to understand where that blockage comes from so you can work through it and be able to receive. The next masculine habit that I gave up to become more feminine is control. I'm a recovering type A. I needed everything to make sense, to the point that I would start controlling situations and controlling people. When it came to holidays with friends, I had to be in control of the itinerary. When it came to being in a relationship, I would want to control the trajectory of the relationships. Part of that was an element of perfectionism, which meant that I was constantly stuck and not starting or not doing things because it wasn't perfect. But done is better than perfect. Femininity is about being and the experience it all. The main reason of the control came from not being able to surrender. But the Bible says, trust the Lord with all your heart and not in your own understanding. Understanding that God is the ultimate masculine being, so we can completely rest in our feminine energy and He will be able to carry us and things will still work out how He intended to, because wealth, success, abundance is our birthright. All we have to do is walk in our servitude. All we have to do is to take the aligned action. The how is none of my business. What I do know is that everything always works out for me, is that I'm one of God's favorites, is that money flows to me easily. It doesn't have to happen how I want it to happen. It doesn't have to happen in the time that I want it to happen, but it's going to happen. Next masculine habit that I gave up to become more feminine is defensiveness. I was always in flight or fight mode and I felt as though everything was an attack. I struggled with taking accountability and responsibility and just saying, I'm sorry, because in my eyes, that meant defeat. That meant that I was weak. I would say, yes, but, or justify my actions, why I did something and why I didn't do something. I always had to bring logic into the conversation or into my explanation without realizing the difference between intention and impact. Whether I intended to upset somebody or to offend somebody did not mean ensuring that someone was not hurt or upset by my action or word. Again, I had to understand the root cause of my defensiveness and understand that it came from being triggered, not wanting to be judged, not wanting to be disliked. So I felt like I always had to defend my character and defend myself. I had to work through my own self-worth, my own people-pleasing tendencies, to be able to realize that sometimes it's not always about me, and to take each situation as it is. Listen, activating that compassionate feminine energy of nurturing, of being maternal, being able to hold my hands up when I've done something wrong, take accountability and apologize. The next masculine habit that I gave up to become more feminine is tough non-verbal communication. My facial expressions and body language used to be so passive aggressive. I actually used to take pride in this at work and even in my personal life, and I would say people just know not to start with me. That created a lot of harshness, a lot of rigidity and toughness in myself, and also in the way that people saw me. And I realized that not only do you not have to be the loudest in the room for you to be heard, you also don't have to have the harshest exterior, harshest facial expressions and posture for people to take you seriously, for people to respect you, for you to command the room. And I started being warm, smiling more, maintaining eye contact, not rolling my eyes, listening, having a feminine posture. It made my life easier because people matched my energy. People were drawn to that energy. People wanted to work with me, not against me. Your face and body language can sell you out by telling someone how you feel and what you're thinking, even without you saying anything. The way that you sit, your posture, using your hands, your facial expressions, rolling your eyes, eye contact or lack thereof. Femininity is also in how we communicate non-verbally, how we're making people feel, what we're saying without actually saying anything. The message here is you can attract anything that you desire. You can make more money while working less. You can make your life easier by becoming a softer woman and leading with your feminine energy. Like this video if you want to see more videos on femininity and abundance. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you're notified every single time that I upload a video, and I will see you in an upcoming video. Mwah. Bye lovelies.